Welcome to the Backyard Basketball Podcast, presented by your host, Christian Steck.
Liquid smoke.
And brought to you every week by my buddy, BDC. How you doing?
Very good.
We're presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network, and we've got some exciting things to talk about with basketball. It's been a while. Braydon was down in LA, and you caught a Lakers game down there?
A Lakers and a buy one, get one free Luka game.
Oh, buy one, get one free. You heard it here first. We're going to get into that and talk about what's going on in Lakerland right now. We're going to talk about some basketball. Let's get into it. So, you know, it's been a while, and you were at an actual basketball game. It's been, you know, sometimes since I've been to an actual basketball game. I guess we went to the preseason game where we saw the Raptors play here in Edmonton.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the last time we saw a game. But you were in LA, and you got a chance to go down to once was Staples, now Crypto.com Arena, whatever you want to call it. And you saw the Lakers play the Dallas Mavericks. How was that?
I had to see LeBron. Before he retired. The hype in that arena is electric. It's so exciting. I don't know if it feels that way as like a local fan, but certainly as somebody who's not from LA or even really a fan of the Lakers, like Showtime is still alive and well. The irony being that as exciting as it is, to see LeBron and the hype around it, like the rest of the roster is absolutely pathetic. When their bench was on, it was like, who are these guys? But the basketball that I got to see was really great. I mean, they went into double overtime with the Mavs. I think that was pretty unexpected. You knew that Luka was going to come out with all the fun stuff being in LA and a lot of the spotlight on him, the attention there. It was a good game all around. I think there was some good, good matchups. Westbrook played pretty well, all things considered. But still, the Lakers find themselves they were on the losing end of that double overtime game, but they're just still not at a place where they are making ground. They just can't quite catch up to everyone else.
What was your instinct? Like, I mean, I got a couple questions for you. Like, first off, like watching that game and seeing how they played against Dallas. Now, yeah, mind you, Anthony Davis has been out here since mid-December.
I think he's back. I think he's back now.
Is Anthony Davis? Is he playing games?
I think he's back actually tonight. We're recording this on the Tuesday night game. He'll be playing, I think, against the Clippers tonight.
The Clippers
might be wrong on
tonight.
that. But
that would be crazy. But so he was out for you, like you said. Yeah, you had. Was Russ coming off the bench that game?
No, Russ started that game, but he was leading most of the bench. When they came out, they were kind of transitioning those minutes with them.
Like watching them play Dallas and that team, like what was like your impression thinking, like, does this, because this is going to bring in, into like the next topic I want to get to, which made news here yesterday, but like watching that game, what were your impressions for like the Lakers need to do this based on what I seen from just this, maybe one particular game to be maybe a more contending team in playoff contention?
Hard to say, hard to pin it on one thing. I was kind of caught up in the hype. So, seeing exactly what was wrong was hard. You could say, yeah, the disappearance of Anthony Davis was a big blow, and that'd be a big blow on any team. Defense was one thing. Kind of went, what's going on there? You look at the rebounding, the offensive rebounds that the Dallas Mavericks had. I mean, that's what kept them into it. The Lakers were going to win that game, and then Luka did Luka things and tied it up late in the game. It's hard to say, hard to pick like one thing, but yeah, I would say there's LeBron's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And at 38, he's capable, but think about all of the other times he's had success. It's like he's been surrounded by players that are capable of carrying much more of the load. So, I mean, if I have to pick one thing, man, it's rebounds. It's like offense and defensive rebounds. If they had more of that happening on their team, they'd be in a very different situation than they're in right now.
That makes sense. I mean, obviously, Anthony Davis helps you rectify a lot of those issues. You want to hear a crazy stat that I just actually heard today?
Yeah, what's that?
So I was telling you, I was listening to Zach Lowe's ESPN pod. He was on with Bobby Marks, and he was talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. He was talking about LeBron James. And he said, when they do like the plus minus when a player is like on the court and then off the court, it's like a number. I've never really fully understood like how the number contextualizes like the impact that they have, like you know what I mean, the plus minus.
Yeah.
But he said that when LeBron's on, so this has been I think Anthony Davis was injured around December 16th. So this is since Anthony Davis has been injured. When LeBron's on the court for the Lakers, the team is a plus 99. When he is off the court with the Lakers, the team is a minus 114. Is that big of a swing?
Oh my God. Like, I just feel bad. I'm like, man.
He has such an impact on winning for that team. It's unreal.
Of course. He's still as dominant as ever.
I'm so envious, man, that you got to see him live. That's definitely been a bucket list of mine. And just his presence in that space and the Showtime. So I wanted to ask you too, after that game was over, it was a nail biter. I mean, I'm sure the Lakers fandom was at least appreciative that, it was a fight, it wasn't a game where they got just like bowled over. But what was your impression being in the stands with the fans in Lakers Arena after that loss? Did they feel like exasperated, like there was like a weight on their shoulders from the struggles they've had to endure so far this season? Or was this just one of those like, shucks, we lost that one, but we'll get them next time kind of vibe?
Hard to say. I was it was pretty split actually with the amount of Dallas Mavericks fans that were there. Maybe just Luka fans, but there was a good handful of Mavs jerseys in the arena, and I was also surprised to see for such a premier guy. I mean, it's LeBron too. I'd be surprised that the arena's never packed, but it was surprisingly sparse, and perhaps that's just how it goes in LA. Or I don't know what. Maybe it's just a reflection of like their standings. I don't know exactly, but it wasn't
wait. It wasn't a full house. That game was on a Friday night, wasn't it?
I know. No, it was a Thursday. But still, I mean, it's Luka, it's LeBron.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's still 7:30. Like people
that should be a full.
Huh. It should be a full house. And it felt like a full house when I first got in there, and then I was expecting the place to fill in. I mean, dude, the Oilers games were more packed up in the 300s than it was at the Lakers game. Anyway, as for their feeling afterwards, yeah, just they got in with their night downtown LA. It didn't seem like I didn't see too many fans that were all that down about it. It just seemed like it was one of those nights, another one of those nights.
I remember
they're gonna party, drink about it, forget about it.
Did the Michael Jordan impersonator like help lift everybody's spirits outside the arena after the game?
Yes, certainly. He certainly did. I was surprised to see him there. I didn't actually think he was from LA, and it's kind of strange too to all of a sudden see a Bulls jersey amongst the sea of gold and purple. But
how tall was that guy?
Dude, I kid you not, like 6'7", and his hands were like Kawhi hands, just massive. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. The whole experience was really great, and the the amount of entertainment put into the experience was top notch. Like the Raptors do a good job, but I mean, Hollywood was Hollywood. It was very, very cool.
Speaking of Hollywood being Hollywood, great segue. Yesterday, We saw, so trade deadline here is February 9th, a Thursday. So that's coming up in about like 2 weeks or so. And we already seen a trade with the Lakers for Rui Hachimura from the Washington Wizards in exchange for Kendrick Nunn, and I think it was 3 second-round picks. Rui, I believe, was drafted in 2019, if I recall correctly. I think he was like around 9th overall. I personally really like the guy. I mean, it's cool. I remember experience in early 2020 when I went and did that trip to Japan in February, and I met a person who was super stoked about Rui Hachimura when I was out there in Japan, because he's got Japanese descent as well. Big basketball fan. We were talking about basketball players, and it was a player that he was really excited about. I just remember he said in passing. And a player that also has Japanese descent in the NBA. I don't know. I can't recall what the history of those players playing in the league, but like he definitely seemed like a player that I felt like in the draft was really prominent. I mean, like physically, when you look at him, it's like, holy crap. And yeah, I don't know. I always like just hope that I thought he'd be a really, really good player. It's an interesting trade. I feel like it's like pretty low stakes for the Lakers to get this player, but I don't know. I was curious to get what your thoughts were on all that going down, and how much, again, like I said, from your experience seeing the team recently, adding a player like Rui Hachimura, how much maybe that'll help move the needle in a better direction.
The last game he played with the Wizards, he dropped 30 points.
That's
And that
how long ago was that game?
January 21st against the Magic, but the Magic have been a much better team this year.
That's true, and that's a lot of points.
13 of 22 from the field goal, 3 of 5 from 3-point, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. So, like, great points that he dropped. That consistently would be great. I mean, back January 1st, he dropped 26 on the Bucks. So this guy's got a lot of potential. He's cheap. He's young. There's also a bit of familiarity. Like, I think it's like 4. I can only name 3 of them, but I think there's about 4 of the current Lakers roster that used to play for the Wizards. Westbrook, Thomas Bryant, now Rui. And there's one more guy. I just can't quite put my
and then you have Kyle Kuzma over there, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was there for a while before he went to Denver. And
Kendrick Nunn. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man! The two of them they're in a relationship. Like, it's fun. I remember Zach Lowe said too. He's like, if you took those 2 teams and merged them as one team, that would be a really good team.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both the 12 seeds, so there's a lot of familiarity in their positioning. But I think the difference here is the Wizards are sitting in the 12th seed, but they're a good handful of games back on the playoffs right now, and the Lakers are really only like a game out of the play-ins, and maybe 3 from 5th seed. So
it's insane.
This is tight. This is really, really tight, and a pivotal moment for the Lakers. They're already strapped. They have so few assets, and their contracts are steep. So they need to get things steered in the right direction and quickly. I think it's a good acquisition. Obviously, you want to see a bigger name kind of come in and make a difference, but I think Rui can be a piece that takes a bit of that workload off of LeBron. Yeah.
Do you think they're more inclined now because of this for the Lakers closer to trade deadline, using 1 or 2 of their first round picks and get another
they have to. I mean, it's the sorry, I shouldn't say it's the Lakers. It's LeBron. LeBron is 38 years old. You've only got him for another 3-4 years, maybe even less if Bronny signs somewhere and then he wants to go play. Obviously, he's made it clear public he wants to go play with his son. So wherever that is, it's such a double-edged sword though, because if you trade all your assets, you're going to have nothing for the future. But if you don't, you're going to lose LeBron anyway. So I think they have to be in a win now at all costs. Mm-hmm. And that's just another asset that they have to play with.
That's a great perspective. Also, side note, I don't know if you've seen that. Congrats to Bronny for making McDonald's All-American team.
Yeah, I'm not really
Um,
surprised about this. Good for
well,
him.
I don't
Super
know.
good
I
for him.
mean,
But there's no way he
it
wasn't
is.
going to make that.
Well, it sure helps his stock get in the NBA. I'll say that's for sure.
His
That's
last
a real
name
good
helps
first
his
step.
stock in the NBA. This guy could be absolute shit, and he'd probably still get drafted.
Okay, very, very, very valid points here. And then I also wanted to say, oh my goodness, I just lost my train of thought before I went on that side note about Bronny. What were we just talking about?
The Lakers.
Oh yes. Okay, I got a possible trade for you.
Okay.
One move. That's all you need to do. Big splash, lake show, showtime. Lakers trade Russell Westbrook and both their first round picks of 27, 29 to Chicago for Levine.
I prefer DeMar, but
I do too. Let me get you straight. I don't think those things would be maybe enough. If they could get tomorrow, that's the biggest one.
what's
Biggest
going
one.
the other way?
So Chicago gets 2 first round picks and they get Russell Westbrook. So they age their team a little bit. They got Russ, DeMar, Vucevic. You're probably gonna have to re-sign Vucevic's contract. He's been playing better as of late, but he had a terrible start to the season. So your team's a bit older. Again, I don't know what the direction of Chicago, but you've got those future assets and those picks, which are definitely worth something. And then you got Zach LaVine, who's a younger player going back to the Lakers. He's a playmaker, which is something that I think the Lakers definitely need.
Yeah, I bet the Lakers would be thrilled to get Caruso back as well.
Very true.
I think that helps them for sure. It definitely adds some talent into the roster, and I think it would be a good thing for Russell too. I mean, Chicago's a hard place to play as well, but that was something I noticed in the crowd was their expectations of Russell are so high. I think they love him, but when he's not playing well, like he might as well.
They're probably pretty hard on him.
Yeah, they'll just leave him out to dry. It's just not. It's not a friendly place when he's not playing. And I mean, granted, he's a top tier talent. Like if LeBron was playing like shit too,
isn't he top 75 players of all time?
He'd hear it. He'd hear it from those fans.
Yeah,
that's tough, man. I think Russ's stock has definitely declined. So you'd have to find somebody who's on a 1 year, like a rental or something, and then open it up to the summer to really get creative again. I'm sure Zach LaVine would ball out if he came to the Lakers. I think that'd be a lot of fun for the team. The real factor in all of this, though, it doesn't matter who they have, even LeBron. If they don't have Anthony Davis, this team has zero shot.
They're not going to win. Yeah, that's so true.
Nah. Yeah, no. And it's interesting too because like Chicago's positioning, they're in the play-in right now. They're in the 10th seed. Again, yeah, like it's kind of tight around this middle of the pack. But this team's streaky. They could slide injuries as well. And they're in a similar. I think they're like right on the brink there, being in the 10th seed as they're in the same situation as the Raptors, where it's like in the next 2 weeks, you're really going to know which direction this team is going to take it. Are they buyers or sellers? Other teams, it's a lot more obvious just in their positioning, what they're thinking of for the future and for the rest of the season. But it's really hard. It's like, do you decide now while you still have time before the deadline to make a push? I mean, I'm impressed that the Lakers made that deal well before the deadline because you've got that guy now. Might as well start. With that thing going on right now. And
great move.
Man. Yeah, I'm not sure what the Bulls are going to do. I think the Bulls are going to slide, though. That's my take on that.
Well, I mean, just look at it this way. Can either of those two teams, you just said the Bulls or the Raptors, crack the top 6, meaning you're going to flip over the Miami Heat? I don't see it. I don't see them being better than the Miami Heat. I just don't see it. Yeah, sure, Miami has struggled, but they're starting to come into form. But that's where you really want to be, is make it to the 6th seed to be actually something that you feel is equitable to start to build upon, to be, even a better team.
And all it takes is like one nice streak. It's quite honestly, that's it.
You're not going to like this, man, but I feel like there's already enough evidence that's mounted against the Raptors, and I feel like they're a team that just needs to sell. Because the other conundrum, really, when you capitulate all of this together, is that if the Raptors were to sell right now at the trade deadline, that they're going to sell hot, meaning that I think they get the best bang for their buck right now in this moment, depending on however they want to slice it. I think it will be most to their advantage if they want to make that move, that aggressive pitch. If I was Masai Ujiri, I would rather want to do it now instead of contending to the offseason, adding more material to showcase to other teams and parties once we get to the end of the season that may just be amplified versions of discontent. Thinking of players like Fred VanVleet just recently changed agents. OG Anunoby has expressed a level of discontent within the locker room for a period of time now. I mean, does that, amplify? I look at the way that this team is constructed on paper. It looks like an incredible team. I love all of these players, especially in the starting five. It just, for whatever reason, and it's like this kind of gut feeling looking at the team, watching them in the games. When they lose, it really sucks. When they win, it doesn't feel like in previous seasons of the Raptors that they own that. They that was it. There's a level of control the Raptors used to have to take over those games that I don't see that allure, that magic this season with that team, which makes me feel the construction of it is just, I don't know.
They're in a tough spot. They're in a really tough spot.
If you think like accessory pieces, this is the way I've looked at it. And then I want to hear your opinion because maybe you see this differently. The way I see it is I see Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. as a little bit more outside of the bubble. And your core has been this like triad piece of Siakam, OG Anunoby, and Scotty Barnes. That's kind of like your inner Triforce. Essentially, that makes the core that represents kind of the character, your identity, especially on the defensive end.
Freddie's in the identity.
I think he was kind of right around 2019, 2020. These last couple of years, especially this season, I don't feel. I don't know.
He's had a shitty year when it comes to shitty year, but he's still steady in terms of.
I guess maybe I'm thinking about this looking at it from like a trade asset perspective. Because if I was to trade VanVleet or Gary Trent Jr., I'm retooling an aspect of my team to see if that works as I move into the future. If I start taking pieces like Pascal or OG, then I'm really affecting the makeup, the DNA of what my team is. I guess that's the way that maybe I look at it.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because you want your team to succeed. You love the players on the team when you have them, But as hard as it was to see Norman Powell go, look at the great success we had when Gary Trent Jr. came in. So it's like these guys are valuable, but if you're not going to make the playoffs this year, like you have to think ahead. You have to get creative. And there's some guys here who have just kind of stalled out. They've been a bit stale, and I'm thinking Chris Boucher and Malachi Flynn and even Kem Birch.
How much of a return do you get from those that actually change the makeup of your team?
Nothing. But if you're looking to the future, you're not making the playoffs this year. Now, we don't know that yet. We don't know that with where the Raptors sit, if they're going to make the playoffs. But Masai and team have to figure out which direction, or at least they have to make a call in which direction they're anticipating with the personnel that they either bring in or sell. So those guys, Chris Boucher, Malachi Flynn, Kem Birch, I don't think they're all going to get moved. But when you think about opening up some opportunities for some of the younger guys to get some reps in moving forward, because that's what you need. Scotty can't do all of this on his own. Yeah, you need Banton in there more. You're going to need to get Koloko even more reps. And that's kind of it. So when it comes to the younger guys that you want to see play, it's so unfortunate Otto Porter Jr. never really got to do anything with this team, because I think that would have been a pretty
Ugh.
valuable bench player. Uh, I don't want to see Pascal or Fred or OG or Gary Trent Jr. for that matter get moved. But at this point, where they sit, I think it's pretty likely one or two of them at least get moved.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. My gut's telling me I see. I it's funny. I think there's incredible value for Fred VanVleet. I think there's a new number of teams. Um, D'Angelo Russell's been playing well as of late, but Minnesota, any team that needs a point guard, the Clippers could desperately use Fred VanVleet.
How much would Kawhi and Norm love to have Freddie on their team again?
Oh my God, they would love to have him on the team, right? So I don't know what the Clippers could offer in return for that. That's an interesting lens to look through. One case for Fred VanVleet, that if he had to move somewhere, that I would really want to entertain that, because I do think the Clippers could in turn. But again, we want picks. That's the biggest thing we want.
We want picks, and we want some young prospects. Like
if we can get that, which I think with guys like Fred, if you were going to move Pascal, you're definitely going to get those assets back. If you're going to move OG or Gary Trent, those might be individuals. And I told you that earlier, where we're talking about that before the pod, about OG Anunoby and the Memphis Grizzlies, because they could offer. They've been holding on to assets like crazy. They've been very conservative with their movement, so they could be available to take on OG Anunoby and give us multiple first-round picks. Which I mean that, get a lot of those assets definitely helps you. You can bring the young players in; they can start to get reps in, like you talked about, moving some of those pieces, and you really build towards the future.
Well, and if you do you change the culture even more? Like, does Nick Nurse? I think I asked this last podcast.
Wow.
Is Nick Nurse still that guy? Can he turn this thing around? But then it also leads beyond Nick Nurse. Like, if this shit changes, does Masai stay? Like, I want to say yes, because he's done great things with very little. And beyond just the team, like in the community and globally, like this is a guy you want at the helm of your organization. But if you're changing the makeup, and that I wouldn't call this a rebuild, but if they do sell some of those guys, inevitably you kind of are in one. So how long does that take?
I mean, the fortunate thing, you've got some good assets to go with, and you have a lot of malleability, so you could be a little bit more aggressive. It's an aggressive restructuring is maybe what I would put it.
Yeah. Sorry, I have pizzas here. Hey, I'll be right down. I'll meet you up front. Hello?
Hi, I have skip dishes.
Yeah, I'll be right down. I'll meet you up front. Okay, our pizza arrived. This episode of the Backyard Basketball Podcast is brought to us by Busy Bee Vegan Skincare. Busy Bee is an all-natural skincare line dedicated to healthy, vegan, plant-based skincare and overall wellness. They offer a selection of handcrafted body scrubs, butters, and washes that not only make your skin glow, but smell amazing. Their unique, all-natural scents include gingerbread, ruby grapefruit, caramel cake, and morning latte. So why not treat your skin to something fresh and all-natural? Head over to shopbusybeevegan.com today. And as a special bonus, Busy Bee is offering listeners of this podcast a 15% discount on your first order with the code OrdinaryPodcasts. Who do you think is going to make the biggest splash before the trade deadline?
The biggest splash?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
Is this the year Bradley Beal moves?
No. Because you got no trade clause.
How
much power you have? You've got the glove of Thanos on your fucking fist when you have a no trade clause in your contract. You have that much fucking power.
Yeah, so he can decide where he wants to go.
It's amazing. So
just tell them where you want to go, dude.
He doesn't. He's not. I think it'll be an off-season thing. I don't think he will want to move at the trade deadline, but this off-season, I could see that definitely happening. God, big splash team. I don't know. I'm gonna say the Lakers. I'm gonna say the Lakers, and they're gonna trade 2 first-round picks, and they're gonna get Zach LaVine for Russell Westbrook. I don't know. They're gonna get it. I think they'll get something that's gonna create a lot of drama. I don't see any of the other teams. Again, Memphis maybe, but Memphis, you don't need like a big player
Yeah, they don't need
necessarily.
much.
I did hear though, this is interesting. I wish I knew all the details. I can't necessarily recall. And I don't want to kind of BS on the pod, not necessarily knowing how the logistics of all this work. But there's some situation with contracts or when they're traded and what they're based off of, so the value changes. And as we're moving into the future, something to do with the cap as well too, where there could be a scenario, okay, because this is what's happened, all right, for the Memphis Grizzlies. They've got all of these like pretty cheap contracts. You look at Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant. They don't have on the super max yet, but obviously that guy's going to get the super max, whatever it is. But your core is probably those three guys, and so you're going to want to tie all those guys up. So Desmond Bane, I think this upcoming season, you're going to have to find some sort of, they're looking like if they could get him for around 25 mil a year, that'd be a great deal. I think he could make upwards. I remember hearing in a pod, like 32, 33 million. Bane could get offered, but if they could get Bane on a reasonable contract, kind of in a way that Klay Thompson did with Golden State Warriors, and then you worry about taking care of Jaren Jackson Jr.'s bag, and you get that accomplished. With the way the structuring is happening these next couple of years, that team could be eligible. They could have all those three players under contract, and they could bring a fourth star player in and get them under contract on this team, the way that their cap is set up right now for Memphis. I'm not like, I'm talking of like a star, like maybe not like a super duper star, but like a player at least on the caliber of Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. and how they're projecting into the future, which is crazy. You think about like how Golden State had that window where they could get, Draymond Green and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson all on that team.
You know what they don't really have is a star two. They don't really have a two.
Well, Desmond Bane, I guess, does he
he's
play
a
the
small
three more
forward.
so?
He's a small forward. So is Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
I'm looking at their roster that they actually don't really have any shooting guard.
They could have a nice backup for Ja too. Like how you have like an Alvarado.
Bradley Beal.
If Bradley Beal could come in and bring his veteran presence to get rid of all the antics with that Memphis team, oh my God, that team would win championships.
Oh, what are you talking about, antics?
That team has antics, man.
Okay, let's talk about that.
They're a bunch of young kids who have a lot of antics. Shannon Sharp on Friday, and Dylan Brooks got to be fighting. Dylan Brooks got to be talking his mouth. And you know what? Shannon Sharp, he's not working. He's off duty. He's a spectator. Definitely overstepped his bounds, but I bet you that guy probably had a bottle of Hennessy before he was at that Lakers game. So he was like feeling good.
So who is talking?
So this is what I think what happened. So Dylan Brooks is defending LeBron James, and he's getting all up in his grills. We watched that. LeBron James is like, step off, kid. And Dylan Brooks is like, I'm in your shorts. So then, so LeBron calls Shannon Sharp Unc. He's uncle. All right, because Shannon Sharp is like his ride or die. LeBron loves Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp loves LeBron James. He will take him to his grave. He is the best player on this planet. That's what Shannon Sharp says.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
So Shannon Sharp, I'm imagining. So Dylan Brooks must have said something to LeBron that Shannon Sharp didn't take well. And Shannon Sharp is defending his guy LeBron James and says something to Dylan Brooks that would probably overstep the bounds. And then Dylan Brooks has to say something, obviously easily gets into his head. And then Dylan Brooks has to, and I'm saying that caveat too, easily gets into Dylan Brooks' heads because things easily get in Dylan Brooks' heads for some reason because this guy is the leader in technical fouls in the NBA.
Is that true, or are you just speculating that?
It isn't true. It is true. Look it up. He has the most. Now, there might be other players tied with him, but Marcus he has the most amount of technical fouls right now out of all the players. There might be some players tied with him, but no one has more than him. He's tied with
Draymond Green.
There you go. So this guy, he's very hot. He's a very hot-headed player. Now he plays incredible defense, but he's an emotional guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve. That's my opinion. Okay, when I watch him play.
Yeah.
So this is just my speculation. So Dylan Brooks is doing his thing defensively. LeBron James. LeBron James doesn't like it. He's saying thing to Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks is maybe talking smack, maybe oversteps the bounds to LeBron James. Shannon Sharp hears that. He gets in, says something to Dylan Brooks, and then Dylan Brooks turns to Shannon Sharp and says some shit to him. Then obviously Shannon Sharp has to go take a moment. I can't believe the guy gets to come back, but we're in crypto arena. It's LeBron James' house. So if LeBron James wants Unk there, he's going to be there. But it's kind of also crazy that he came back.
Again,
I mean, a regular patron, that wouldn't happen.
Antics.
But this Memphis team, I'm telling you, they talk their shit like they have already won something and they haven't won shit. So I don't want to see all of these antics, is how I call them. The way that they tout themselves when you haven't won a chip yet.
But
go
even
out
when
there
you've won
and
a
just
chip,
win
I don't
games.
think that's happening.
Just win games.
But this is it, Chris. They're sitting second in the West. They are winning games. No, they haven't won the whole thing yet. But how are they going to win the whole thing if they don't have a chip on their shoulder? If they aren't,
it's okay to have a chip on your shoulder.
Into LeBron shorts. If you don't get LeBron shorts, your team's gonna lose.
The antics are too much. I think it gets in their own way. It gets in their own way from winning. From winning.
But they're winning. They are winning.
They could be winning more. They could be the best team in the NBA right now. Okay, but they're not. They're not.
They might finish out.
And I'm telling you something. You want to hear something? I'm telling you something. Third round, if Memphis makes it, they're not getting out. They're not making it to the finals. It ain't happening.
Wow.
I just, you know why? Because I think that team needs more veteran presence, and it needs somebody in the locker room to say, all right, we need to focus up. Fuck all the noise. Dylan Brooks, stop getting technical fouls. Fuck all the noise. We're here to win basketball games. And we show how much of a killer we are by winning basketball games. That's what Kobe and Shaq did. That's what Paul Pierce, Garnett, and Ray Allen did. Okay? That's what the best of the best do.
The best of the best. You just named most of the guys that would talk smack. Kevin Garnett. All these crazy.
Yeah, but this is too much. This is too much for me.
Shaq would go like if any fan got up and started yelling at you as a player, these are the guys that are on the court playing. Obviously, they're gonna come back at it. I know you've got a vendetta against Dylan Brooks, so I won't stop you at that. And I know what that's like.
I don't have a vendetta against Dylan Brooks, okay? I was out of line. I don't have a vendetta against... If Dylan Brooks is hearing this, I don't have a vendetta against you. I'm glad you're a Canadian player, but holy shit, calm the fuck down, man.
You haven't liked him since Oregon, man.
Calm the fuck down.
But so let's talk about this veteran, because I agree. They need
some veteran presence.
A veteran. It's great they have Steven Adams. I think that's
they got Danny Green on that team.
They've got Danny Green on that team, and now if Danny Green could be a veteran on the court, that would be a different story. But I would not be at all surprised if this is a team that goes out and gets that for a push in the playoffs, so that they can get past the third round. This is John Morant's team, man, and they will stop at nothing to win.
I was trying to think about that on my drive home. I was trying to think like what would be a good vet player on that team.
Draymond Green
could. Yeah,
he won't get traded. But think about Draymond Green when you talk about antics. That's a dynasty right there, and they didn't win it without those quote unquote antics.
He's got too much. Here's one you like. How about this one, Eric Gordon?
Nah, I mean, yeah,
I feel so bad for Eric. I mean, he's kind of fucked the dog this season, but Jesus, man,
that's your shooting guard.
Jesus, and he's a good shooter.
He's one I'd go for.
Yeah, I know, but like
they've got all the picks that they need to do that.
Oh man, Washington, especially at the trade deadline, I feel like would want the moon. They would just want everything. They would want to completely eviscerate Memphis, which I don't think is a good idea. Wait till the offseason if you want to make that trade. You're going to get way better value on Memphis then.
Except that you're sitting second in the West right now, and you have a chance at winning the whole thing.
You need like a role play. You need a role play vet player. That's all you need. You got enough talent. You got Desmond Bane is a straight up mother effing killer who shoots threes like an MF, or he was shooting over 50% from 3-point line. Averaging at some point this season. We were talking about that in the earlier pod. And the Toronto Raptors could have fucking drafted him. Okay,
Yeah.
that
there was,
shit
like, one
pisses
away.
me off, man.
Yeah,
One away.
yeah.
We
That's hard.
decided Malachi Flynn, man.
Totally. Now listen though, like every year in the draft, you have to pick what your team needs. You can't just have a surplus.
I don't believe in that whatsoever.
Why?
If you can get
Why,
the
dude?
best,
If you've got four threes and Desmond Bane's going to be your fourth string, he's never going to play. So how is that going to
what
help
if he's
his
the
growth?
best one? Then move those other assets.
Yeah,
look at
that's
the
a
value
possibility.
for all those
But
players that you have.
At the draft, they determined he wasn't at the place he was because he wasn't at the place he was now. He's at the place he was now because he's on a team and with all of the personnel and coaching staff around him that has developed him into that player.
And Toronto couldn't have done that. Toronto could have done that,
absolutely. But I think at the draft they didn't. They realized that they had OG, Scotty, like they had. Oh, they didn't have Scotty at that time, but they had too much going on. I think at the small forward that it just wasn't the right thing. I mean, yes, you look back and you go, "Oh my God, I could have had that guy. We could have had Giannis for that matter." Like every year that's going to happen. And that's the crapshoot with the draft. I mean, prospects sometimes they come alive, and then sometimes they're duds like Bruno Caboclo. So, but this Memphis team, man, I think this is the team to watch when it comes to the deadline. This is going to be really, really fun to see. Can you imagine Freddie? I mean, I know Ja's the number one, but what if Freddie moved to the 2, or at least they played off 1 and 2?
No, I think that's exactly the right way. The right way to look at it. I think that'd be helpful. I don't know, or something just to, like I said, quell the antics. I think would be really, really good for the team. They're one that could make a big splash. I don't know, man. The Clippers could do something crazy as well too. It's just shave off some of the antics, okay?
Oh, shave off the antics.
Shave off the antics, all right? Verno would agree with me. It's a little too
how would Boston shave off the antics?
Boston doesn't have any antics. Boston goes. You know what Boston does? They come out like professionals and they win basketball games. That's what
they're
Boston
doing.
does.
Incredible. And that Blake Griffin acquisition, like that's what you're talking about.
That's a good one.
When you talk about the.
That's a good veteran.
He doesn't have to produce offensively. He doesn't have to be the guy.
But tells you how to go about your business.
Veteran, you've got and a little bit like there's some confidence there on the bench, which is helpful. You still got Al Horford, who's like 80, and he's just killing it. He's not 80, he's 36, but he's still killing it.
He's still playing really well, playing very, very well. Yeah, they've been good. Tatum's just playing out of his mind. Jaylen Brown's playing out of his mind.
Brogdon.
Brogdon has been such a huge addition for that team this year, and I mean they're good. They're good. They're I believe they're the standard for what an NBA team should emulate, and they're I don't know, man. I'm still like a rock, thinking they're gonna go very far, and I don't think they really have to do much. Just keep getting their reps in and stay healthy.
That's just it.
But yeah, man, I don't know. It's crazy. I'm excited for trade deadline. I don't know. There's a bunch of teams we haven't even talked about. Maybe, the Kings could do something crazy. They're so freaking good, which kind of blows my brain. Like, why are they so much better than the Clippers? Can someone explain that to me? Like, what is going on with the Clippers? I want to watch that game tonight with the Lakers. I just
don't know why the Clippers are in LA.
Yeah, there you go.
It's unfortunate. Nobody's a Clippers fan. Maybe that's helpful for Kawhi, but they drafted well. The Kings drafted well. Going back to the Kings,
they did. They drafted very, very well.
Davion Mitchell can guard anybody on the floor. Darren Fox can run past anyone on the floor. The emergence of Keegan Murray. They got Sabonis last year in
the trade for Sabonis. I think that was the best trade, man. That trade was insane.
Well, I think it was good for both parties.
It was. But like for the Kings, like talk about I just heard their GM might actually be getting an extension here. And I mean, good on him. Because like it's just to know what your team needs and act the perfect freaking piece to the team. They're fun. Like whoever, I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of Kings games, but I've seen like little, bits and pieces, and they just are so fun to watch. So fun to watch. Same with the Pelicans. I love that team. I just love that team.
I know you do. Well, we'll talk about the Pelicans next week.
We'll talk about next week. We'll talk about maybe the Brooklyn Nets and how Kyrie is carrying the load without Kevin Durant, which also blows my mind. And yeah, man, this was fun. We're back at it. We're doing this. We're going hard. It's the dog days of the NBA, but we're here and we're going hard. We're talking about ball. So we're gonna do this again next week. It's fun doing this with you, man.
Liquid smoke.
Again, we're the Backyard Basketball Pod. We're presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. Thank you so much to everybody that listens. It means a lot. So, anything else you gotta say?
Let's go eat some pizza.
Let's eat some pizza.
Ciao.